Part 107. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1070. Latest website. In the office building of Jiafeng R/U0026D Company, after the rapid development in the past few years, the current R/U0026D Company has a staff of less than 500 people. Each department is sound and there are many subordinate companies. It is completely capable of becoming a group company on its own. In the president's office, 5 executives were sitting across from Lu Cheng. They looked at their boss with a bit of helplessness on their faces. Mr. Lu had no problem with technology. He was recruiting technical staff and was very good at research and development. But these subordinates are helpless because of their stupidity in fighting for fame and wealth. In the past 2 years, the R/U0026D company has been well off, and their wages and various benefits are among the best in the group. This has also caused some people at the group headquarters to criticize them. Mr. Lu, I don't know whether I should say something or not, said the HR manager opposite. Then don't talk about it. Mr. Lu will be back soon. How will the new company be divided? What kind of support will be needed after the new company is established? Whether it is manpower or other things, we will fully support it, Liukin ordered. Listen to Lu, I always say that this time he is a big boss in the integrated circuit industry. Mr. Lu, I still want to say something. The financial manager next to him looked at Li Cheng and said, we have to look after ourselves. Is this new company under our control? Are their finances included in our statements? I heard from Mr. Lu that it does not belong to any company and is controlled by the group. Liukin felt that something was wrong with these people and asked, what's wrong? Isn't there a powerful person here to relieve us of the pressure? Mr. Lu, when the pressure is gone, the money is gone. You should know this. If this company is under our control, we will definitely go all out and achieve results. It is because of your good leadership that we cannot make any mistakes. Money is used to make breakthroughs in research, but it is their own business, not to mention that when the big boss comes, he will definitely bring great people. What will happen to the R/U0026D budget in the future? Another person also said hurriedly. Yes, the people at the group headquarters are all dissatisfied with us now. We had dinner in private at the last meeting and made weird remarks. There is also Mr. Li from the group brand department. He said at the meeting last time that we spent too much money. Too bad, the results can't be converted into profits, so I said I need to report to the board of directors. I don't know how many people are envious of us. Now that we are in such a company, our status has plummeted. Within a few years, we will be split into peripheral companies of the group. This issue must be taken seriously. We are the best for you. Only by uniting can we confront other camps within the group. Others agreed with this statement. Liukin frowned when he heard these words. The management under him no longer cared about the life and death of the company. At this time, they were worried about their own future first, so that they would always stand at the center of the group's core interests. Tell Mr. Lu that this company will be placed under our company and become a subordinate company. Even if it doesn't work, take a step back and let the R/U0026D company take control. That's a good idea. It's best to have it in your own hands. What if Mr. Lu doesn't agree? Liukin asked, staring at the people in front of him. He will definitely agree. He will use various methods to persuade you and you will work hard. If the group headquarters meeting can't resolve it, you can go find other board members and decide it at the board meeting. Once the board of directors has decided, this matter will not be resolved. It's settled. The person in charge of human resources on the other side obviously knew Jiafeng's current model very well. The board of directors is the best weapon against Lu Feng. It finds various reasons to support Lu Feng's decisions and creates various difficulties and obstacles, ultimately allowing him to go in the direction he expected. That's it? I'm just curious. What if the decision I make one day is not in your interests? Will I do the same thing? Lyokan stared at the people in front of him and his expression turned cold. Several people's hearts trembled, and they panicked for a moment, and said hurriedly, "How could it be possible, Mr. Liu? This matter is good for the company, and it is also for the company's sake. The R/U0026D budget is sufficient now, but it will have to be done in the future. Think about it, it's not just about our personal income, it's also about the entire R/U0026D company's nearly 10,000 R/U0026D staff, and it's also about the interests of the entire group in the long run." Several people quickly realized that what they just said was too explicit. Lyokan did not stand with them at all, and hurriedly used the two banners of group interests and public interests to cover himself. How the company develops, I believe Mr. Liu has his own plan. In any case, GFN is Mr. Liu's GFN. Even if the board of directors appears now, we should not worry about this. Doing our job well is the best for the company. The greatest contribution, to say the least, must be worthy of the salary and conscience. When GFN no longer needs the R/U0026D company, no matter what tricks it uses, it will not be able to reverse the situation. Likewise, when the R/U0026D company no longer needs us, no matter how hard it is, GFN will not be able to reverse the situation. Apart from adding more laughter, what other uses do these methods have? Lu Cheng said to the crowd. Several people stopped talking and sat there in silence. Lyokan knew what they were thinking and continued, "There is a saying that gold will always shine. What I want to say is, you can't expect gold to shine like the sun. You are gold. If you think you are the sun, then leave here and shine your own light to illuminate the thousands of buried gold in the world. That's all, go out." Several people were beaten by Lyokan's words. After leaving the office, they looked at each other and wondered why they hadn't noticed that he was so good at speaking before. Privately, everyone said that Lyokan was a fool and was always passive in the struggle for group interests. They don't know that sometimes being passive is also an option. Lyokan was the only one left in the office. He could feel that as GFN grew, interest groups had been formed in various departments. The old people in the top management were still friendly, but the people below were encouraging them to strive for greater interests. In addition, Lu Feng no longer has the actual management rights of the group. In the future, no one knows whether the ship will fly into space or collapse from the inside and sink to the bottom of the sea. After more than 10 hours of flight time, the plane finally landed. Lu Feng looked at the dazzling sunshine outside. Everything seemed so friendly. After the plane stopped, he got off the plane under the guidance of the flight attendant. The company's pickup truck outside the airport was already there. After waiting, there was no one else except a few executives from the president's office. "Mr. Liu, do you want to go to the company first or go home?" "Go to company." "Go home?" Lu Feng no longer has any position in the company. Now Zhu Lidong and the others are performing their own duties. Going alone will make them nervous. As for going home, which home to go back to? Lu Feng was sitting in the car, lighting a cigarette, and suddenly realized that he had nowhere to go. The beach villa was now probably covered in dust. Go home, go to the railway workers' community. Lu Feng had no choice but to go to Zhang Xiaoyan's place first. Fortunately, he had been given a key there before. As the motorcade drove into the community, everyone in the community knew that someone from Mr. Jiang's family must be here. Most of the communities in this community are employees allocated housing. The only powerful person is Mr. Jiang. There have been rumors about Mr. Jiang in the past year. Rumors continued in the community. Some said she was a woman maintained by a big boss, while others said she was the daughter of a high official. The car stopped downstairs, and everyone helped carry the suitcases upstairs. Lu Feng opened the door and looked at the neatly packed interior. There was a piano in the corner. It seemed that Duo had started learning piano. He didn't have a good rest on the plane last night. Lu Feng lay half lying on the sofa and fell asleep. I don't know how long it took, but Lu Feng felt like someone was pressing on him and he was jumping up and down. "Wake up, Dad, wake up, I bite you." Lu Feng felt like his face was being bitten wildly. He opened his eyes and saw Duo opening her mouth to bite her. He hurriedly grabbed her little head and asked, "When did you get out of school? Why did you change your hairstyle? This short hair is so ugly." "Mom," he said, "I'm ugly." Duo turned around and shouted towards Zhang Xiaoyan. Zhang Xiaoyan was sitting on the sofa not far away. The tungsten lamp in the room was particularly dazzling. She looked at Lu Feng and said, "Get up and eat. When did you come back? How did you get in?" "I arrived this afternoon. I had no place to go, so I came here." Lu Feng put his arms around Duo and sat up. He picked her up and put her aside, saying, "Let's change the lamp at home. This lamp is too dazzling. It won't take long for us to move. Let's stop worrying and let's eat." Zhang Xiaoyan didn't ask any more questions, handed Duo the bowls and chopsticks, and said, "Practice the piano after dinner, don't be lazy for me." Lu Feng took a sip of the soup. He had just woken up and had no appetite. He asked how she was doing recently. Zhang Xiaoyan bought a villa and planned to move there soon. It turns out that the villa is empty. "You can move back anytime you want. If you feel that the house belongs to me and feel unhappy, it doesn't matter if the change is your fault," Lu Feng said as he ate his food. "What's yours is yours. I don't want it, so she went to find you," Zhang Xiaoyan asked without raising her head while eating. Who? She's really good. I'm becoming more and more understanding now. You don't have to worry about me or run to me. She's countless times better than Su Yorong. You are the same way. You're a grown man, you don't need me to say this." Zhang Xiaoyan watched Duo finish his meal and started playing with the TV, getting ready to watch cartoons, and ordered, "Turn off the TV and go practice the piano." Duo glanced at Lu Feng aggrievedly, and seeing that he didn't dare to speak for her, she had no choice but to turn off the TV and sit in front of the piano and start playing. Lu Feng didn't know what to say. He felt that the person in front of him seemed to be getting stranger and stranger. Some of his words were right. Time would dilute everything. He lit a cigarette and looked at Duo in silence. "Dad, how did I play?" Duo turned around and looked at Lu Feng expectantly. "There is a man named Beethoven, do you know? That's a great pianist. I mean, there is a person named Duo, and he will go crazy after hearing it." Lu Feng sighed and said to Zhang Xiaoyan, "This kid is not the material, let's find another way." Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1071. Latest website. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Duo for a long time and then said, "No matter what, you have to look like a girl. She will be a 10-year-old child soon, hanging out with a group of boys like crazy all day long." Lu Feng glanced at Duo, who was not being honest even when he was sitting playing the piano. He was squirming around like a maggot. He took a puff of cigarette and muttered, "Funny girls should be funny girls. With our family's conditions, she is not short of a partner. I asked her to learn to swim, play the piano, and learn etiquette. Some time ago, I heard a boss say that her children can be sent abroad after high school." Zhang Xiaoyan planned it herself. "You can't send them away in high school. Let's talk about college. There's no point in planning. Children and grandchildren have their own destiny. If she were a dragon, she would go straight to the sky despite all the difficulties and dangers. If she was a worm, you would help her reach the ninth heaven. It's useless. With her temperament, to be honest, if she doesn't commit fraud and go to jail, I'll be quite satisfied with her," Lu Feng said to Zhang Xiaoyan. "What are you talking about? This child has a good nature. She has grown up this year and has stopped doing small business. The teachers praise her for being sensible. Zhang Xiaoyan rolled her eyes at Lu Feng and said, let's not talk about the child anymore. It doesn't matter, just do your own thing, and you can just get married, they can't afford to wait. Listen, what are these words? The company is in a special period now. I don't want to think about these things for the time being. If the company's affairs are not handled well, then I will go back to the past. The company's equity structure is not good for me now. Coupled with the resurgence of international disputes, Jiafeng is the most high-profile target. Lu Feng also felt a lot of bitterness in his heart, so he just took this opportunity to talk to her about the powerful relationship. From the international situation, the United States is leading the suppression, and the global technological blockade of domestic countries will only become more and more severe. Feng Neng has come to this day in such an environment, all by relying on profit concessions and bringing in European wolves to deal with the two tigers of the United States and Fuzhou. No matter who comes, they all want to eat this meat. Jiafeng has now developed certain abilities. Whether he can seize the food from the tiger's mouth depends on the next 2 years. Lu Feng was smoking a cigarette, with a gloomy look on his face. He leaned on the sofa and said in a low voice, it won't be long before the sea will be filled with aircraft carriers, and the muzzles will be aimed at us again. The war is so close to us, and the battlefield not just artillery fire, but also technology and finance. If you pay attention to the news, you can feel that it is night time. Zhang Xiaoyan sat there silently, her expression a bit downcast, and while clearing the dishes in front of her, she said, I don't pay attention to these, I am just a common man. A few years ago you said you wanted to make money, and later you said you wanted to open a factory. Later, I wanted to build a big company, and now I have to focus on the international market. I feel that I can make some money and live my own life. I don't understand other things, and I don't want to understand. Lu Feng opened his mouth when he heard her words, but didn't say anything. The two people's pursuits were different from the beginning. Perhaps her small family mentality made Lu Feng feel at ease. There is only this family here, and there is no other. Stuff that has nothing to do with home. Okay, stop playing. Let's watch cartoons and do homework. Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and started to clear away the dishes, talking about things at home. Her second brother called her again, hoping to go back this year. It's just that those parents are short-lived. Under the light, Duo sat 2 meters away from the TV and watched cartoons. Zhang Xiaoyan complained about the life. When passing by with bowls and chopsticks, she kicked Duo and asked her to sit on the sofa and watch. Lest your eyes go blind. There are not so many international events here, and there is not such a big picture. There are only bits and pieces of the family. Lu Feng slumped on the sofa and seemed to relax. This feeling is something that no one else can give him. When I was with Su Yorong, all I could think about was money, and all I could think about was calculation. But with Zhang Fengxia, I felt more like being in love, and acted like a child. It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening, and Duo had to get up early tomorrow. He yawned and entered the room. Zhang Xiaoyan closed the folder in her hand, glanced at Lu Feng and said, go back. I have nowhere to go. Why don't you have anywhere to go? It's a villa and a high-end apartment. Lu Feng stared at her with burning eyes and said nothing. What are you watching me do? Zhang Xiaoyan threw the rag in her hand on the coffee table, sat down and said, think about that again. How old are the children? It won't be a problem for us to continue like this. Besides, did you study a text when you were a child? Lu Feng interrupted her and asked. The after-school reading was about a rich man who was drunk late at night and lying on the lawn. The security guard found him and asked him, why don't you go home? The rich man said that I don't have a home. The security guard pointed to the largest and most luxurious villa and said, Isn't that your home? The rich man said that it is just my house, not my home. After hearing this, Zhang Xiaoyan looked at him and said, I haven't learned it before. I didn't understand it at that time, but I seem to understand it now, so I don't want to leave. Lu Feng stood up and looked at Zhang Xiaoyan and said, go to bed early. Don't do anything. I'll sleep with Duo, and you can go to sleep by yourself. Zhang Xiaoyan took off Lu Feng's hand, looked at him and said angrily, that's all you're thinking about? No, I just slept peacefully. I just felt lonely and empty inside. Lu Feng looked at her very sincerely and said, go to sleep in that room. The child is old. It's so embarrassing to make such a fuss. Okay, stop telling little stories and go to sleep, Zhang Xiaoyan said as she pushed Lu Feng into Duo's room and said to Duo, come here and follow me. Mom sleeps. Duo was wrapped in quilt, lying on the bed, raised his head and looked at the two of them with two big black eyes, and asked, are you two okay? You kid, you listen to everything, go to sleep in my house. Zhang Xiaoyan was angry and annoyed, walked up to her, picked her up, and went back to the house to sleep. Lu Feng felt dumbfounded and touched Duo's little head. He lay on the bed and had a particularly peaceful sleep. He didn't have so many random thoughts or worries. When he woke up, there was already Duo's noise in the living room, and the chirping of birds outside the window was particularly clear. There was a feeling of prosperity. Lu Feng got out of bed and walked to the living room to see the fried dough sticks and soy milk he bought on the dining table. Duo's eyes were red. Unwilling. It's so early in the morning, what's wrong? Lu Feng knelt down and asked. I want pocket money to buy ice cream, Duo said with red eyes. The weather is so hot now, what's wrong with buying ice cream? It's about 50 cents. It's early in the morning. Lu Feng looked at Zhang Xiaoyan and said, just give me the money. Is it a matter of 50 cents for her? They have negotiated with the school canteen to rent the refrigerator and sell ice cream. Last night they whispered to me that they have only been peaceful for a few days and they are thinking of selling ice cream. If you fail the test next time, I will twist your head off, Zhang Xiaoyan cursed. Selling ice cream? Your business is not good. The canteen owner can't make money, but you can make money, Lu Feng said to her. Study with peace of mind, don't think about it all day long. Lu Feng took out a few dollars from his pocket to give her, but his pocket was cleaner than his face. He put his hand into Zhang Xiaoyan's pocket and took it out for a long time, then handed her a green $2 bill and asked her to buy snacks. I can sell it. The owner of the canteen does not accept credit. I can give it to them on credit. Just give me 2 or 3 cents first, Duo sobbed. This is a seasonal business. Sell it first and wait until next summer. There's still a year left. If they can get the money back, they can't run away. What should I do if I don't give you money after eating the ice cream? Lu Feng said angrily. This is risky. I know several 5th graders. If they don't give me anything, I will ask the 5th graders to beat them up. Duo looked at Lu Feng seriously and said. Hearing her risk control methods, Lu Feng was speechless. He looked at Zhang Xiaoyan and said, you also said you would send her abroad. I'm afraid she will rule Wall Street and I can't control it. It's almost 7 o'clock. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. Do you want to get beaten? Zhang Xiaoyan scolded with a cold face. In no mood. If you don't want to, just be good and I will break your legs if you do anything wrong. Let's go. Zhang Xiaoyan grabbed her clothes and walked downstairs cursing. Lu Feng sighed and sat down to eat breakfast. He was not worried at all about this child growing up. His brain was so damn easy to use. He could always see business opportunities. What a capital brain. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng changed his clothes, took a car and went straight to the R/U0026D company. He went upstairs to Liukin's office and found no one there. He pushed open the clerk's office next to him and asked, Isn't Mr. Lu here today? Mr. Lu is having a morning meeting, what do you want? A little girl raised her head and asked Lu Feng. Mr. Lu, a clerk next to him who had been working here for a long time, stood up hurriedly and said, Mr. Lu is in a meeting. Please go to the VIP room and take a rest first. People who have never seen Lu Feng are surprised. Who is this boss? No, I'll stay in his office for a while. Lu Feng closed the door and walked towards the office. The clerk behind him hurriedly ran to get water. When Liukin learned that Lu Feng was coming, he ended the morning meeting hastily, opened the office door, saw a smile on Lu Feng's face and said, Long time no see, Mr. Lu, why didn't you tell me you were here so I can make arrangements? No need to arrange it. I don't have any position in the group now. I only have an honor. Lu Feng pointed to the sofa next to him and said, Sit down. Have you had breakfast? After eating, why don't we organize it today and report to you the progress of the R/U0026D company in the first half of the year? I will arrange people now. Liukin stood up as he spoke. No, 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 I told you. Now I don't hold any management position. According to the regulations, you don't have to report anything to me. You just come to chat. Old friend Lu Feng looked at him and said. Liukin felt quite uncomfortable when he heard this. The company he had worked on day and night had now lost its management rights, and he felt useless. Mr. Lu, why don't you come back? I speak more straightforwardly. I may or may not be right. Now everyone still respects you. As time goes by, I am afraid that you will recognize money but not people. Such a big group, you can't throw it away from yourself. It's a good thing for capital to come in and help companies grow, but so many companies have been destroyed by capital. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1072. Latest website. For more than half a year, Liukin found that the teams arranged by foreign capital were constantly wooing the management. Even several foreign team leaders would publicly say at some dinner tables that only when the company enters professional operation can the company be stable and pink. This so-called professional operation means decentralization, dividing all positions in the enterprise, employing professional managers at the top management, and the board of directors deciding the direction of development. This is the operating model of large international groups. Under this model, the entire group will become a wage earner on the board of directors, and personal abilities will be greatly weakened. Most importantly, Liukin believes that this will weaken Lu Feng's influence in the group. Lu Feng looked at him. It was obvious that everyone was familiar with the form of Xian enterprise. He said, What will happen if we come back? Just do your own thing with peace of mind and don't think too much about other things. Who told you this? I'm not stupid either. I'm already that old and have been in the workplace for half my life. I know all the tricks, but I just don't want to do them. Yesterday I talked with a few executives and found a lot of problems. In a month there was a management training within the former group, and I stopped by to listen to it, and what was said was exactly this. Liukin sighed, looking quite helpless and said, in addition, with Zhu Lidong and Du Guoying, we sometimes chatted over meals, and everyone is now. I'm also worried about changes in the company. Liukin told Lu Feng all the thoughts of those senior executives. Lu Feng lit a cigarette, smoked and looked at Liukin and said, Every period has its own difficulties. Without the inflow of funds, the R/U0026D company would not be able to run so smoothly. Don't worry too much, I'll handle it. As for the new company, I think the group will hold part of it, the other party's technical team will hold part of it, and I will personally pay some money to take part. This Mr. Zhang is a powerful person, so you should learn more. I must ask for more advice then. These are the only things within the company. Everything else is fine. Can we apply for a patent now? Lyokin asked. This is what I came to tell you today. Take the time to apply for a global technology patent and announce it to the outside world. The mobile phone must also be announced to the outside world. Lu Feng took a puff of smoke and said, after being silent for such a long time, it's time to give them something. It's exciting. In the morning, Lu Feng attended a meeting at the R/U0026D company and learned about the current internal situation of the R/U0026D company, focusing on the use of the R/U0026D budget, overseas talent reserves, and the progress of major core projects. He listened to the opinions of all parties. The meeting was hosted by Lyokin. Lu Feng just sat aside and listened because of his status. They had a meal together at noon and were going to the group headquarters in the afternoon. Lu Feng asked Lyokin to call the rotating president in advance and said he was going to investigate inspection. At the dinner table, Lyokin said quite dissatisfied, "You have to go back to your company in the name of inspection, so you can go directly. Abide by the rules, this is a very important point, don't leave anything to say." Lu Feng looked at his confused look and said while eating, "This is what I said to you privately, and it will be a bayonet in the next 2 years. It's time for you to get angry. If you call and tell me in advance, no one will be able to fault you." "Okay," Lyokin sighed. When the call was made, Wei Yandan, who was the rotating president, was also stunned and hurriedly called Lyokin's personal mobile phone. "Hello. Mr. Lu, it's me, Wei Yandan. Is Mr. Lu at your place?" Wei Yandan on the other end of the phone asked, a little puzzled. "Why did you call me and tell me to come over for inspection?" "Mr. Lu just wants to take a look and ask about work matters. I'm not in the management position now, so I'll let you know and go over for inspection," Lyokin replied. "What's going on? Is there something wrong with the board of directors?" When Wei Yandan said this, her voice lowered unconsciously. Lyokin raised his head and glanced at Lu Feng and said, "No, just a regular reception. You can make arrangements." At 1:30 in the afternoon, Lu Feng left the R/U0026D company by car and arrived at the group headquarters half an hour later. The security guards at the gate were standing in 2 rows. There was a red carpet at the door, and a banner was hanging on a ladder at the door. Lu Feng's car had just parked. A Toyota sedan stopped behind. Lu Feng got out of the car, looked at the people hanging the banners and said, "Okay, don't hang them up, put them away." The man hanging the banner turned around and glanced at Lu Feng, and said angrily, "The big boss is coming, you know how to use a hammer, go ahead and don't hit you." The door of the car behind opened, and Du Guoying got out in a suit. He seemed to have matured a lot after not seeing him for half a year, and he looked more like a leader. "Mr. Lu," Du Guoying trotted over hurriedly and said, "Come as soon as you say you will. Why are you conducting an inspection? You are so indifferent as you said. I will accompany you up." Lu Feng looked at him and asked, "Are you late?" "How could it be? I'm going to pick you up." "Didn't I just buy a car?" Du Guoying crossed his fingers with a smile, saying how good the car was, and the two of them walked upstairs. "How is the pager this year?" Lu Feng asked as he walked. "The market continues to expand, and the expansion speed is very fast. In the first half of the year, the market growth exceeded 50%. However, it showed a weak trend despite the high growth. This high growth is the result of price advantage. Starting from this year, Sony, the sales of manufacturers such as Motorola can be said to be at a loss. The market price is generally below 2,000 yuan, and the value recognized by users has decreased. This is due to the limitations of the pager itself and the suppression of mobile phones. This year, the price of mobile phones has dropped, and most of them is about to be eliminated. Through market research, we believe that with the development of mobile phones, plug-in phone booths, and public phones, The future of pagers is relatively slim. Du Guoying's mouth was like a machine gun as he analyzed the market with Lu Feng and spoke eloquently. Yes, the investigation of the market, products, and consumers is very detailed. Lu Feng nodded and praised. Thank you, Mr. Lu, for the compliment. This is just my job. Du Guoying opened the elevator door as he spoke, and he hurriedly continued, I think domestic mobile phones have a price advantage over brands such as Nokia, Motorola, and Sony. The future is destined to be the future of mobile phones. I heard from the grapevine that our mobile phones will be on the market next year. I guarantee you that they will definitely be able to compete in the market and make them unable to hold their heads up, Du Guoying said firmly. Lu Feng suddenly stopped walking forward, stared at him for a few seconds and said, while we were chatting, why did the mobile phone business become yours? We are responsible for communications, pagers, and mobile phones. Isn't this a natural thing? One more question, where did you hear that our mobile phone business will be listed next year? Lu Feng stared at him and asked, who told you? Du Guoying looked embarrassed, looked at Lu Feng and grinned, and said, grapevine. How ridiculous. If you don't tell me, I will punish all the people in charge who know about this at the board meeting. After all, it involves business leaks, Lu Feng said solemnly. No, Mr. Lu, I just heard what Mr. Lu said, and he didn't say anything. He just talked some nonsense while drinking, Du Guoying said hurriedly. Mr. Lu, why are you here? Wei Yandan hurried over and asked. There's no need to make all that fuss. Zhu Lidong isn't here, Lu Feng asked. He has a meeting out of town, let's go to the office first. The company still retains Lu Feng's office, but the sign at the door has been changed to Honorary Director. Lu Feng entered the office and sat on the sofa and asked, how about the rectification of the factory in Tianjin? All rectifications have been completed, and all the people have been sentenced, with prison terms ranging from life to 5 years. Now the factory has been put into production. This year's market growth rate is large, and the growth rate in home appliances is the highest. The past 2 years have been a wedding boom. Well, in the domestic market plus the overseas market, fortunately the new factory is put into use, otherwise it would be really stretched. Wei Yandan sat down and said, the products are selling well, but the profitability growth is very average. Although the competition in the home appliance market is not so fierce now, we still have to do activities. In addition, the unit prices of small household appliances, pagers, and VCDs have dropped. This year the price of VCD has dropped seriously due to the rampant pirated products. If the profit in the first half of the year is calculated alone, it will be about 1.3 billion. In the second half of the year, we should be able to achieve the goal of 1.5 billion for the entire group. Let's keep working hard. There is no problem with 3 billion for the whole year. The year-end financial statements of the board of directors will show that, without adding in your US dollars in overseas markets, it will still be a loss. Where is the construction progress of the headquarters building? Lu Feng asked. Last month I went to attend the capping ceremony. The exterior walls and interior decoration will be completed. It is expected to be around this time next year. We can move in the second half of next year, Wei Yandan said to Lu Feng. We have become the first-class domestic appliance market. We held a meeting and discussed that opening up new markets in the next few years is a very critical step. Is this what Zhu Lidong thinks? What does he want to do? Sell mobile phones, Lu Feng looked at Du Guoying. At the last meeting, Mr. Zhu believed that it is not just mobile phones, but the entire range of electronics. We think there will be a big explosion in the electronics industry in the two aspects of office and entertainment. He wants the company to develop computers, Wei Yandan said. Okay, let's dig into the roots of our old club. We will discuss this matter later. Let me tell you something. From today on, all core management personnel of GFN Group are prohibited from going abroad. You can let the people below to travel overseas. What kind of vice president are you like? Let them run around more, Lu Feng ordered. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, GFNR/U0026D company officially announced that in the chip industry, it has achieved breakthroughs in 3 core technology points: wafer, corrosion, and coating, and will apply for global patents. It is believed that in the near future, it will have its own core technology. The technology will exceed 50%. The current technology can be applied to the production of 8-inch chips. The technology is first class and leads the country. Following the evening news and TV news reports, the domestic semiconductor industry exploded. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1073. Latest website. This time, even some of Jiafeng's old rivals are looking askance at it. How complex the chip industry chain is. A little peek into it will reveal the difficulties. Now the global chip industry is all about cooperation. No one company has the full process technology patent, even if as long as it can produce qualified wafers, it can participate in the global industrial chain. Jiafeng's crazy investment in the chip industry in recent years has made many people question it. Some experts in the society publish articles from time to time, saying that Jiafeng is simply burning money. The chip industry can never catch up with the international market by burning money. Lu Feng doing this is to transfer assets covertly, because R/U0026D funds cannot be specifically evaluated. If a project fails, hundreds of millions of dollars will be returned to zero. Some experts also say that Jiafeng's investment will not catch up with foreign countries in 100 years, and the Chinese people have natural deficiencies in this regard. As the news spread, it was like a slap in the face to these people. Many people's first reaction was that it was fake. Phone calls for verification came from countless directions towards the R/U0026D company. Some people even called to directly ask for technical details. As long as you don't tell them, you'll call them liars. Until the evening, the news exploded in the country like hot oil meeting boiling water. In Beijing, there was a sign in front of an office door that read Science and Technology Committee. A man in his 30s hurried over, knocked on the door, and walked in. Within a few minutes, a surprised voice sounded inside. What? Are you sure it's true? Have you verified it? Have they really broken through foreign technology patents? I just heard the news. It was announced by Jiafeng R/U0026D company. It should be true. They have invested very heavily in the past 2 years and are cooperating with foreign companies. By the way, Nokia. I forgot in my hurry. Jiafeng is the company that invested $1 billion, right? You should contact the leaders in Shenzhen first and ask them to confirm. If it is true, this is a big deal. The commendation meeting is you must, go quickly. At 6:30 in the evening, Lu Feng had just walked out of the conference room. He spent the entire afternoon understanding the changes within the group in the past 6 months. Now that the development period of the home appliance market has passed, those who should withdraw from the market have also left. Who will be the remaining ones? It can't overwhelm anyone. Every year, the market growth is eaten up by just a few companies. Pure home appliances are not enough to support Jiafeng's huge profits. It relies more on VCD, pagers, and entertainment. Jiafeng's foundry business has also achieved high growth this year. According to the top management's expectations for the current mobile phone, according to market estimates, if Jiafeng successfully exits the mobile phone business, doubling profits will not be a problem in the next 2 years. If the chip industry is added, management is optimistic that Jiafeng will achieve an annual profit of tens of billions in 2005. The goal. At the meeting, Lu Feng did not make any comment on the optimistic forecasts of Wei Yandan and others. You have just come back, and I have prepared a welcome banquet for you. In addition to exploring the market this year, the main focus is on internal rectification. The company's rules and regulations have been adjusted, the human resources department has been optimized, and the financial supervision of subsidiaries has also been redesigned, Wei Yandan, walking beside Lu Feng, said. Now the group's business has stabilized. Competing in the market is not only based on low prices. The competition now is service. Pre-sales service and after-sales service must be good. With the technology being the same, who can be closer to consumers? Whoever becomes an intimate person of consumers can win the market, Lu Feng said to Wei Yandan. This truth must be conveyed to Zhu Lidong. No one can kill a powerful company. All big companies die from arrogance. Okay, I will definitely convey it. As soon as everyone went downstairs, a middle-aged man walked by the door, turned around and said hurriedly, Mr. Wei. Mr. Wei. I have something to do with you. Director Zhang. Wei Yandan stopped and asked, what's going on? You talk to Mr. Wang, I'm here to receive the boss. If I have something urgent to do, I can only come to you. Vice Mayor Lu asked you to come over. If I have something urgent to ask you, he said he would ask you to bring the person in charge of the R/U0026D company, Director Zhang said hurriedly. Wei Yandan looked at Lu Feng. Things in the city had to be dealt with, and Lu Feng had to accompany him. She didn't know where to accompany him now. Lu Feng saw her embarrassment and asked Director Zhang, didn't Vice Mayor Lu say anything? This urgent matter is extremely important, Director Zhang said anxiously. It's such an urgent matter, why doesn't he come in person? Lu Feng had a close guess about Vice Mayor Lu and said to him, Mr. Wei is not free, let him come over. Ask him to come over? Who are you? He's the deputy mayor. What do you think he is? Come here just as you say. Director Zhang got angry. This man is not young and has a loud voice. But not coming? It seems that things are not that urgent. Let's eat first. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he walked towards the car. Director Zhang was anxious. He didn't finish his work. He might get scolded a lot when he went back. He said to Wei Yandan, Mr. Wei, this matter is urgent. Otherwise, I wouldn't go there myself. Don't do it, everyone's faces will look bad if they make such a fuss, otherwise it will be a tax issue next year. What's going on? The car door in front of Lu Feng had already opened. He looked at Director Zhang and said, you have the final say on taxes. If we don't continue to reduce taxes, we will move out and you can decide on your own. Move away? Who is this person? Director Zhang sounded unhappy, but he also felt that this young man seemed not simple. Boss, Wei Yandan replied. Aren't you the boss? Director Zhang stared at Wei Yandan with some confusion. He just came here last year and has always dealt with Wei Yandan. I work part-time, Wei Yandan replied. Since the matter is urgent, let Vice Mayor Lu come over, just in time to catch the wind and wash away the dust at night. Wei Yandan felt it was not appropriate as she spoke, so she asked someone to clean up Mr. Lu's past. She changed her words and said, we are all old friends. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I specially invited Vice Mayor Lu to attend. Director Zhang could sense that Lu Feng didn't seem to be following his own example, so he could only nod his head and said, I'll call and tell you. If anything happens, you'll be responsible for it yourself. I've already taken good care of you. Thank you, Director Zhang, for taking care of me. I'll leave first and let Mr. Wang receive you. Wei Yandan looked back for a long time and found a vice president to receive the director. Du Guoying sat in the passenger seat, and Wei Yandan sat next to Lu Feng. Du Guoying turned around and said, Mr. Lu, even those who were promoted in the second half of last year are not very familiar with you. What kind of director is this? Why do you say something so annoying? Lu Feng frowned. Office director, he arranges some meetings, receptions, etc. There are more meetings in the city this year. We are not as tough as you when dealing with the municipal government, Wei Yandan said with a bitter smile. Du Guoying couldn't help but said, they just feel that their attitude is bad. It's impossible for us people to really move the company away. Mr. Lu is different. If his temper comes, he will really leave. From now on, please avoid attending unnecessary meetings. We are a private company and we pursue profits. We went to a row of tables, 2 hot pots, 3 tails of tea, and 4 leaders put forward 5 suggestions and talked for 6 hours. I listened to all kinds of nonsense, had a big drink after the meeting, and when I woke up the next day and thought about it, it was all nonsense. Lu Feng said angrily, "Let's drive." Director Zhang entered the headquarters and called back. Vice Mayor Lu picked up the phone in the office and asked, "Who is it?" "It's me, Xiao Zhang. Didn't you ask me to find the person in charge and the person in charge of our /U0026D at GFN? There's a guy here who has a bad temper. He yells at me and won't let Mr. Wei go. If there's something urgent, you can go to him. He said he would go to the hotel first and asked you to go directly there," Director Zhang said into the phone. "Who is it?" Vice Mayor Lu got angry and called him at around 5 o'clock to give orders. Now it was 7 o'clock and he still hadn't asked about this clearly. He felt a little angry and asked, "Can I come down here if I can?" "What? It's a great thing for them, and others haven't even started yet." "He's a young man, what's his name?" Director Zhang turned his head and asked Vice President Wang. "Mr. Lu, Lu Feng." Director Wang turned back to the phone and said, "He said his name is Lu Feng." Lu Feng." Vice Mayor Lu was dumbfounded, with a bit of discomfort on his face, but he suppressed it, cleared his throat and asked, "Didn't you say which hotel?" "Ah," Director Zhang couldn't react. "Let me ask you, which hotel can't understand this? Can't you understand running errands? How old are you? What's in your head?" "Shit," the other end of the phone cursed angrily. Director Zhang's face turned green after being scolded. He looked at Vice President Wang and asked about the hotel. After telling him the name of the hotel, the call was hung up. Vice President Wang couldn't help but want to laugh when he looked at Director Zhang's face. He really thought that Mr. Lu was like him, so he said, "Director Zhang, this boss is different from the boss. I went to the factory down there for a walk, and he was very impressive. They are all kings, and they are also divided into big and small kings. How can you, a private enterprise, be so awesome?" Director Wang asked unhappily. Mr. Lu was a powerful presence in Suzhou back then, driving the local economy. The man at that time was a brother to him. "You can taste it yourself. I'll go over first." Vice President Wang didn't bother to talk to him. There is a large table in a large private room that can seat 25 people. The first 20 people in the management team are basically here except those who are on a business trip. I'm treating you to this meal today, but you can't spend the company's money. Jiafeng's achievements today are mainly due to your hard work day and night, Lu Feng said politely. Everyone at the scene was polite, and the scene was full of flattery. Du Guoying looked at the situation and whispered to Wei Yandan, "Mr. Zhu is not here, the atmosphere is not good." What Mr. Lu just said was dropped on the ground. Wei Yandan glanced at him and asked, "What will Mr. Zhu say?" Du Guoying imitated Zhu Lidong's voice and said, "We just did a little bit of work, mainly because Mr. Lu was so good at cheating outside." Wei Yandan couldn't help laughing. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1074. Latest website. Lu Feng heard the conversation between the two and looked back. The three of them all laughed. If anyone was the boldest in front of Lu Feng, it was Zhu Lidong. Within the Jiafeng group, he was definitely the one who followed Lu Feng. The longest person ever. Okay, everyone, take your seats. Everyone has been lucky in the first half year," Lu Feng said politely. Just as everyone was about to sit down, the door to the private room was pushed open, and Vice Mayor Lu walked in. When he saw Lu Feng, A smile appeared on his face, and he stretched out his hand and said, "Mr. Lu is a rare guest. It's hard to see you now." Lu Feng walked up and shook hands with him, looked at Vice Mayor Lu, who was now a little fatter, and said, "You probably don't want to see me. We meet often. I'm afraid that Director Zhang will be angry and I'll leave early. The people below don't know how to manage things. As you know, these guys look one way in front of you, but they look completely different when they leave the door." Vice Mayor Lu shook Lu Feng's hand and said, We are all old friends, so we can understand this." "Understood. Understood. Please take a seat quickly. Please bear with me if I'm inconsiderate." Lu Feng turned around and pulled out a chair as a courtesy. Vice Mayor Lu sat down, and other management on the scene were polite. The waiter began to serve the food, and several bottles of Maotai were served. Vice Mayor Lu glanced at Wei Yandan, and said to Lu Feng, "Mr. Wei is a capable person in your group. Ah, Jia Feng has been asking me a lot about this tax issue this year, and it is absolutely impossible for ordinary people to get such a big discount. It's mainly because of your care. My personal abilities have also grown under the leadership of Mr. Lu." Wei Yandan stood between the two and spoke impeccably. "Taxation," Lu Feng hissed and asked Wei Yandan, "didn't it mean 3 years or 2 years of tax exemption? Do we still have to pay taxes? The tax is returned to other factories. The tax at the headquarters is a comprehensive tax with certain exemptions. Among them, U0026D companies do not pay tax and there are subsidies. Our tax this year is basically exempted by 40%, Wei Yandan replied. Is that so? Lu Feng looked at Vice Mayor Lu, lit a cigarette, and said, "That's not quite right. Why do I remember that when you went to Suzhou for inspection, you told me that you were tax-free for 3 years? No, absolutely not. I definitely can't make the decision on such a big thing, let alone promise it to you. Jia Feng has actually not paid much tax in the past few years of development. If Mr. Lu was still developing in Suzhou, I believe Jia Feng is not as good as today." Vice Mayor Lu replied slowly. "You are right. If I were in Suzhou, maybe Suzhou would be Shenzhen now. I believe you know better than me how many industrial chains and companies Jia Feng has driven." Lu Feng looked at Wei Yandan and said, "Wei General, this business needs a big picture. When we help one place, we also have to consider other cities. Relocating the headquarters is a big deal, but it's not that big. Submit a proposal to the board of directors and I'll sign it. Our headquarters is only a big place, if you just go there and have a drink, the roof can't bear it." Yes, I will keep it in mind." Wei Yandan could only nod. Seeing that Vice Mayor Lu had stopped talking, Lu Feng picked up his glass and said, "I'd like to toast you. If you need anything from Jia Feng in the future, just give me a call." "You're welcome. Local enterprises provide power for local development. This is what it should be, right? We are a private enterprise and may not be as good as local state-owned enterprises, so don't feel bad." Vice Mayor Lu smiled and said nothing. Sitting here, Lu Feng kept applying eye drops to him, then picked up the glass and drank it in one gulp. At the dinner table, we were chatting about the development of local areas in recent years and the problems they face. For current leaders, a place is a place. The city I manage is good. No matter how other cities are, a city is like a class. Good. If it's broken, it's the credit of the head teacher. If it's broken, it's the same thing. Local finances are under great pressure, and the state-owned enterprises below are talking too much, and problems have begun to arise. In the past 6 months, the finance department has been keeping an eye on Jia Feng, paying taxes when they should, and delaying some subsidies. Lu Feng knew all about it. This was still a developed area. Some cities in the north had experienced wage delays, even every 2 or 3 months. This problem lasted until the late 1990s, when the global financial crisis affected the country. Prices skyrocketed and currencies devalued. The two words that Vice Mayor Lu said the most to Lu Feng at the dinner table were understanding. We need to be considerate of the place, the employees, and the market. Everyone needs to be considerate anyway. Lu Feng was very aware of the development in the past few years. The soft-hearted boss eventually led his employees to bankruptcy, and the evil-minded capital was crazy about layoffs and desperately lowering wages, and he managed to survive this most difficult moment. After 3 drinks and 5 dishes, Vice Mayor Lu finally remembered his business and asked Lu Feng, "I heard that you have made a major breakthrough in research and development. Which area are you referring to?" "We have made too many breakthroughs in research and development this year. It is not easy for me either. I am crazy about raising investment, doing research and development, and messing around outside. As a result, some rubbish experts in some rubbish media, they call me a traitor every day. I came back yesterday, and I read a newspaper this morning saying that I transferred assets and got a green card from the United States." Lu Feng threw the cigarette butt in his hand into the ashtray and took a deep breath. Obviously he was quite unhappy with these insults. "You have to be more open-minded about this matter. You are talking about others." Someone from the Science and Technology Committee called to inquire. "I heard that you have made a major breakthrough in integrated semiconductors," Vice Mayor Lu said to Lu Feng. "This is a big deal. You should also know that the domestic 909 project is at a critical moment." 909, Lu Feng sighed and lit another pipe. "What did those people do with the money?" "They built a factory in Shanghai and produced a few wafers. We can't do it in this life. After investing so much money, there will definitely be results. It is a breakthrough in technology, so don't be too optimistic. The most important thing is design. Circuit design is a problem, and there is also a problem with the lithography machine." "That means this is true." Vice Mayor Lu became excited. This was a big deal, definitely a big deal for the city. He almost lost his eyes when he smiled, and put his arms around Lu Feng's shoulders in excitement. Said, "Mr. Lu, you are the one who does the big things. I have to go back and report. You guys should eat and drink first." "Mr. Wei, send me off," Lu Feng ordered Wei Yandan. The meal lasted until 9:30 in the evening. Lu Feng looked at the people present and said a lot of heartfelt words. For them, whether it was painting a cake or encouraging them, Lu Feng was no longer in the management. Jia Feng's car. The control keys of the speeding train are handed over to them, but who owns this car will definitely have a big fight in the future. At 10 o'clock in the evening, everyone dispersed. The car downstairs was already waiting. Lu Feng sat in the car. The driver turned back to look at Lu Feng and asked, "Where are you going back?" I suddenly remembered a joke. "Entrepreneurs, don't mess around until your business is gone and your home is gone." Lu Feng smoked and wanted to go back to Zhang Xiao Yan's place, but she was definitely asleep at this point. If he went back, he would wake up Duo. "I can't sleep awake and cry when I go to school tomorrow morning." "Go back to the villa," Lu Feng ordered. The villa area was quite quiet at night. Lu Feng opened the door. A layer of dust had fallen in the room. He couldn't sleep. After walking out of the door, he reached the seaside within a few steps. He looked at the dark sea and heard the sound of waves. The garden property in front of the villa is beautifully maintained. At this moment, it was morning in the United States. At the entrance of Cornell University Hospital, Zhang Fengxia looked at the test sheet in her hand. She was 100% sure that she was pregnant and had set up a pregnancy file here. Looking at the documents in her hand, she was a little hesitant to tell Lu Feng the news. She had just landed in the United States a few days ago, and she was still thinking about giving birth to the child by herself and having nothing to do with him from now on, but she felt that the child was not dead. How can this be done? Feeling quite tangled in her heart, Zhang Fengxia stopped a taxi and returned to her residence. After tossing and turning, she still felt that she had to tell him that the call she made to Lu Feng's office of GFN Group was not answered, so she was automatically transferred to the group's telephone operator. After a good chat, the driver informed Lu Feng that he would go back to the villa today. She remembered the phone number of the villa and pressed the dial button. The phone that had been silent in the room for a long time suddenly rang like a fake corpse. Lu Feng turned around and thought it was an auditory hallucination. After watching it for a while, he stood up and walked back, secretly wondering who made the wrong call. After picking up the phone, Lu Feng said to the phone, "Wrong number." "That's right." Lu Feng hung up immediately after picking up the phone. He was stunned when he heard the voice on the other end of the phone and asked in confusion, "Fengxia?" "Yes, it's me. Why are you still up so late? No one has cleaned up the villa for a long time. Why are you running there again? Is Sister Xiao Yan moving?" Zhang Fengxia could feel that Lu Feng had no place now. There are many places to live, but no place to stay. She has to wait until Duo goes on summer vacation before moving. I finished drinking late. I woke up Duo when I went back to make a noise. "Are you in the United States?" Lu Feng asked. "Yes, I will leave the day you leave. I have something to tell you." "What's the matter? Do you want to start a business there? If you need my investment, I don't dare to say anything else. 10 to 20 million US dollars will definitely be fine," Lu Feng assured on the phone. "It's not the money, it's me getting pregnant." "Oh, congratulations," Lu Feng said to the phone and was stunned for 2 seconds before reacting. He said in disbelief, "What did you say?" "I'm pregnant." Lu Feng didn't know how to feel at this moment. He sat blankly on the sofa. All kinds of feelings rushed into his heart at once. The excitement of being a father for the first time in 2 lives, but he didn't know what Zhang Xiaoyan would think. That kind of control. The tugging emotions left him speechless. "Don't you like it?" Zhang Fengxia couldn't hear his voice on the other end of the phone, and her grievances began to well up in her heart. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1075. Latest website. The news came too suddenly, and I didn't have any psychological precautions. I was a little panicked when I heard the sobbing coming from the other end of the phone. I hurriedly said, "I like it, don't cry. You have to be emotionally stable at this time. You are now where are you? It's best to find someone to take care of you. I have a lot of things to do now, and I'm afraid I won't be able to go out in the past 2 years." Listening to Lu Feng's voice on the phone, which seemed particularly at a loss, Zhang Fengxia felt a little calmer and said to the phone, "Don't worry, I will take care of myself. I just feel that I don't want to tell you. You can't pass this level." "Have you told your family about this?" Lu Feng asked. Lu Feng could tell that Zhang Fengxia's parents had high hopes for her. If they knew that she had given birth to a child out of wedlock, they would probably kill her to find out. And with the connections of the old Zhang family, if they really wanted to get Lu Feng would be afraid that everyone in the country would be stunned. "Can't go down anymore. Why am I telling them this? Are you trying to make trouble for us? If you really want to tell me, let alone my dad, my grandpa will also cause trouble for you." Zhang Fengxia sighed, obviously having a headache for her family, and said, "Let's talk about it later when the children are older." "I'm sorry for you." Lu Feng didn't know what to say. He was silent for a while and asked, "Do you still have money? You spend a lot of money there. Give me your card number and I'll ask someone to call you 1 million first tomorrow. US dollars, basic necessities such as food, clothing, housing, and transportation are guaranteed, as well as safety." "No need, I have money. Sister Xiao Yan gave me a dividend before I left." What do you think the child should be called? Zhang Fengxia's voice became gentle, full of longing for the future. This, I really didn't know. For a while Lu Feng suddenly remembered that in his last life, when he was hanging out with a second-rate actress, he jokingly said that if he gave birth to a boy, he would be called Lu Yuki, and if he gave birth to a girl, he would be called Lu Tank. This name is not very suitable. Lu Feng thought for a moment and said, let's talk about it then. Think about it now, what do you think? Do you want to have a son? Zhang Fengxia said with a naughty voice. How about calling me Zixi? Or Xiao Xiao? They say that a cheap name makes a living. How about a bitch? Gaodan? I still have brother Go. Do you still remember Datu? Lu Feng couldn't help but laugh. The person on the other end of the phone started laughing, and said with a smile, don't be big-headed, it's not easy to live with. How about Lu Paris? Okay, we'll talk about this later. Take care of yourself first, and don't tell Xiao Yan about this, Lu Feng ordered. Zhang Fengxia on the other end of the phone became depressed when she heard this. She just said oh, and then said, it's getting late over there. Go to bed early. I will take care of myself. You don't have to worry. Okay, remember to call me if you need anything. After Lu Feng said, he remembered that he didn't have a mobile phone yet, and the previous pager was lost somewhere, and he continued, I will go out to buy a mobile phone tomorrow, and then I will give you the number. Tell you. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng sat on the sofa and scratched his head with his hands. The quartz clock on the wall showed that it was almost 12 o'clock in the evening. Overall, this news was mostly joyful. London, in the morning, the local court officially launched an investigation into Jia Feng's overseas branch today after receiving multiple prosecution cases. Several people in uniforms went upstairs, knocked on the general manager's office, and looked at the man in front of them who had just been promoted to full-time job a few days ago. A man named Berg. Are you the person in charge of this company? The court man asked. Yes, I am now the general manager of this company. If you have any questions, you can ask me, Berg replied calmly. How does your company conduct business? While conducting business, do you protect the basic rights of employees? When signing a personal agent agreement, does it constitute an oppressive monopoly? The leader asked Berger, who is the ultimate beneficiary of your business? You. I'm not, I'm just a part-time worker. My boss went abroad for inspection. We operate a global business and have many branches. It's absolutely legal and compliant. As for someone suing us, we will respond. Berg also had a headache. I want to find a cooperative law firm to handle this matter, but the law firm still has a sum of money that has not been paid, and the finance department said that there is no money in the account. With the involvement of industry, commerce, and taxation, the matter of Lu Feng running away became more and more serious. It was already spreading in the afternoon of that day. In order to prevent a run, the matter was dealt with coldly, and the local police began to contact other branches in Europe. The results of the surprise inspection were surprisingly consistent. The figures in the accounts were there, but all the money had been flowed out through HSBC in the name of the head office. This matter was classified as a major pyramid scheme fraud. Police from various European countries communicated with each other, and experts held an emergency meeting to ensure that they could not alert the snake in the first place, but must first find a way to get Lu Feng back. Domestically, early the next morning in Beijing, people from the Science and Technology Committee held a morning meeting. The leaders at the meeting seemed particularly excited. A man in his 50s said to everyone, Jia Feng Group is doing very well. For the sake of insurance, for the sake of safety, it is better to see is to believe, so as to avoid the joke of 10,000 caddies per mu, send a team of experts to inspect and study, and after confirmation, reward the enterprise, and cooperate with other departments to carry out in-depth cooperation, so that the results can be effectively implemented. We must cherish the fruits of victory. On the basis of GFN Group, we will work steadily and strive to blossom everywhere, form multiple developments in our /U00260 market, industry, and form healthy development. This will be the most important thing for the domestic semiconductor industry in the past century. The window of opportunity must be firmly grasped. There was a round of applause. Then we will discuss the specific candidates to lead the team this time. Everyone can also sign up. Let's adjourn first. After the meeting dispersed, as soon as the person in charge of the meeting walked out of the door, a man in his mid-30s or mid-teens chased after him. He wore glasses and had his hair parted. He looked somewhat polite, and his appearance was quite dignified and elegant. He Zheng, is there something wrong? Wang Buletin, I want to lead a team to inspect the GFN Group. Going down there is also an experience for me at this age, He Zheng said with a smile. Let's discuss this matter later. As for you, you have performed well in organizational work, but this time it is technical. I will definitely let you go next time I have the opportunity, Wang Buletin declined with a smile. He Zheng stood there and smiled awkwardly. On the way to the canteen, everyone was talking about GFN Group. Many people had heard of this company, especially Lu Feng. As for who would be sent, then I don't know. No matter who goes on this trip, it will be a resume in the future. He Zheng walked to the cafeteria with his head sullenly, packed his rice and started to eat. Halfway through, he put down the steamed bun in his hand and ran to the phone booth. After the call was dialed, He Zheng said to the phone, Dad, can you tell me about this matter? A breakthrough in the semiconductor industry is a big deal. If this matter is done well, the future will be good gone. He muttered into the phone for half an hour, and the other end agreed. After breakfast, there was a square single sofa in a large office, covered with a white towel. Several men in their 50s and 60s came in, exchanged polite words and sat down. Wang Buletin sat down and lit a cigarette without a handle, and said, I think it's better to send people with stronger skills this time, so that communication is easier, and the team is younger. I heard that the boss of GFN Group is a young man. There is a topic between each other. If we send a few old antiques to go there, I'm afraid it's just superficial. Everyone present nodded and thought there was no problem. A man with a Chinese character face beside him put the cigarette in his hand on the coffee table and squatted down, saying, there is a saying that a hairless mouth means a weak workman, so the best person to lead the team is still you can't be too young. I think He Zheng is good. Everyone present looked at the man. They all knew what was going on and looked at Wang Buletin. If He Zheng wants to participate, you can. If you want to lead the team, forget it, Wang Buletin said. I have paid attention to this man. He may not be very technical, but he is very good at talking and doing things. Although he is from the north, he grew up in the south and is very adaptable. The man looked at the crowd and said, what do I recommend? Right, what do you think? It didn't matter at first, so everyone just nodded. Lu Feng woke up and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. The phone at home kept ringing. He went downstairs and looked at the time on the wall. It was 9 in the morning. He picked up the phone and said, who is it? It's me. Let me congratulate you first. People from the Science and Technology Committee are coming down for an inspection. They will arrive in a few days and do a good job of reception. I heard that if this inspection is completed, you will most likely win the prize. Do you know about the Science and Technology Award? Vice Mayor Lu on the other end of the phone looked very excited, as if he had done it all by himself. Okay, I'm busy in the city, I'll show up when the time comes. Okay, Lu Feng asked. You have to accompany me. This is a big deal. Don't take it to heart. After their group inspection, the important people will come to inspect it. This group is standing in front of you. Let's have a meal at noon. I'll treat you. What's the matter with you? Brother, I'm so happy for you. Vice Mayor Liu's mouth almost burst with laughter. Brother, Lu Feng snorted, said he was busy, and hung up the phone. Standing in the living room and looking at the dazzling sunshine outside, Lu Feng muttered to himself, "What a world." The weather outside was scorching hot. Lu Feng drove directly to the hypermarket in the city center and bought himself a mobile phone. At this time, Wei Yandan had received the message from Director Zhang and immediately decided that the group would set up a temporary reception team to treat the matter seriously. To wait. "Let me take a look at this Nokia." Lu Feng pointed at the Nokia mobile phone on the counter and said. "Hello sir, this is Nokia's best-selling model, Nokia 2110, with the world's top technical support and strong signal. Even if you are in the suburbs, you can receive the signal," the clerk introduced. Lu Feng took it in his hand and played with it. Nowadays, the ability to make calls in suburban areas is a big selling point of mobile phones. "How much?" "The price of this counter is 8,000 yuan, not including the internet connection fee. If everything is done, it will be more than 9,000 yuan. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1076. Latest website. The internet access fee is more than 1,000, Lu Feng was a little in disbelief. It was 1995 now, and the telecommunications network had been rolled out in big cities. This was not the time in the past few years when you had to ask someone to find a connection to install a phone. Yes, if you are not in a hurry to use it, you can wait. I heard that the internet access fee will change next year, the shopping guide, and Lu Feng underestimated the gossip. Isn't that right? In 1994, China Unicom was split off, and now everyone is talking about posts and telecommunications being split up. Everyone on the street knows this, and everyone inside posts and telecommunications is already aware of it, and they are preparing to compete for more users before the split. Resources, network access fees dropped again and again in 1996. It was not until 1998, when posts and telecommunications was separated, that this internal battle officially turned into an overt market battle. In 2000, China Mobile was separated, and a tripartite alliance was formed. Domestic fixed-line telephone, the mobile phone price war has just entered a head-to-head battle. Okay, that's all. Help me apply for the card. Lu Feng waved his hand. You can do it yourself, or let us do it. If you do it yourself, it will take a day or two. We have it ready-made. Just add 500 yuan. The clerk could see that Lu Feng was not a good person. For those who are short of money, these mobile phone stores have this service. As long as you have money, you can immediately insert the card and make a call. Okay, Lu Feng felt like he was being taken advantage of by someone. After paying the money and picking up his mobile phone, Lu Feng first called Zhu Lidong to inquire about the current situation there. He also thought about calling Zhang Fengxia. After some calculations, she was probably sleeping now, so forget it. Lu Feng walked around and looked at a lot of mobile phones. The prices were basically in the range of 6,000 to 8,000 yuan. Compared with the price of tens of thousands, the drop was quite obvious. However, starting from next year, the price of these mobile phones will usher in the darkest moment, because Wu Ying introduced PHS technology from Fuzhou in 1996. In the next few years, PHS would use these mobile phones to chase and fight. Lu Feng actually had ideas about intercepting Hu PHS, but he had a bad relationship with Fuzhou. If he had signed the contract a few years ago, authorization is still possible, but now, I'm afraid I'll be arrested if I go there. GFN Group's technological breakthroughs in the semiconductor field are still spreading enthusiastically in the country, and the news has begun to spread overseas. When the news reached Watanabe's ears, he looked particularly unbelievable. What did you say? Watanabe asked, looking at the assistant. The assistant was frightened by his reaction and lowered his voice. GFN Group announced yesterday that it has achieved breakthroughs in multiple technologies in the semiconductor field. Their domestic media are reporting on this matter. Here are detailed reports. The assistant put the carbon copy in his hand on the table. Watanabe grabbed it and started reading it. From time to time he raised his head and asked, "Is it true? Are you sure it is true?" He couldn't believe that Jiafeng had made breakthroughs in these key areas. At this rate, Jiafeng's entry into the world's semiconductor industry chain was a sure thing, which meant that Jiafeng had direct competition with companies such as Sony and Panasonic. Advantage. In addition, he knows very well that Lu Feng is very skillful in price wars. This matter will have a huge impact on local enterprises in Fuzhou. The only good thing is that Jiafeng does not have the ability to design chips yet. If you don't have the production capacity, it's still too late. Do the companies in Silicon Valley know about this? Watanabe asked, putting down the carbon copy in his hand. I'm not sure about this, the assistant said awkwardly. Watanabe asked her to go out. No matter what time it was in the United States, he immediately contacted Intel's group vice president. No one answered the call, and he changed the other person's home number. After fighting for more than an hour, the call was finally connected. The voice on the other end yelled in a confused and displeased tone, "You better be in trouble, or I'll twist your head off." Who? Mr. Barrett, I am Shi Watanabe, the head of Motorola's overseas business department in Fuzhou. I'm sorry to disturb you, but the matter is indeed urgent. I just got the news that Jiafeng Group has made a breakthrough in the chip field and has mastered the crystal technology. Technologies in key areas such as rounding, etching, and coating are very threatening to us. I guess they are now moving towards higher areas such as chip design, storage, and information reading. Watanabe talked about Jiafeng's situation, and even added a lot of details. The other end of the phone quickly woke up, got up from the bed, asked about the overall situation, and asked Watanabe to wait until the morning in the United States to report to him. Goldman Sachs also talked to Motorola executives. In China, Lu Feng did not hold an actual position, but felt a lot more relaxed. He found a housekeeper to clean up the house, and called Zhang Xiaoyan and asked her to live here first. If she couldn't get used to it, she would move out. Zhang Xiaoyan refused, and Lu Feng, I couldn't explain it clearly on the phone, so I had to say, I'll go to your factory and tell you. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng went out and drove straight to the factory. Compared with Lu Feng's comfort, Wei Yandan was almost crazy with work. She held 4 meetings in the morning, 3 of which were related to the inspection team. The people from the municipal government came and looked like they were uncles, and the prepared reception plan was overturned. There was a lot of quarrel all morning. The leader of the reception group was a vice president, and he was scolded to tears by the municipal leaders. It was almost noon, and there was a man in his 40s sitting in the conference room. He wore a white shirt and suit trousers, and he looked quite imposing. Let me tell you, this matter is not only your business, but also a matter of showcasing our place. It cannot be stingy, it cannot be extravagant, it cannot be too ostentatious, but it cannot be too shabby. Dining in where, what standards, how many dishes, what wine, and who will accompany you, you have to think clearly about it, the man ordered Wei Yandan and the others. Deputy District Chief Li, we have never done anything like this before. If someone wants to come to inspect, they just come to take a look. Whatever standards you say, we will just arrange it, Wei Yandan said to the man. You arrange yours, we arrange ours, and we work together to do this well. We can't just do the work, just like cooking. It not only has to be delicious, but also looks good on the plate. We are responsible for safety and road clearing. Provide the venue, you have to do the reception well, forget about the 5-star hotel, it is not suitable, and the publicity must be done well, slogans and so on. You must remember one thing, that is, Jiafeng can achieve today's results, it is under the leadership of the city and the strong support of the district, we are where we are today. We need to work hard on the planning of the inspection route. You have the technical staff ready. They will meet you, show the results, explain the principles, and dig out if there are any stories. It is best to introduce individuals. Don't be afraid of difficulties, withstand pressure, and achieve success, you understand. Wei Yandan was dumbfounded. She looked at the reception team leader who was crying next to her and said awkwardly, Deputy District Chief Li. Mr. Wei, what does that adverb you always say mean? Deputy District Chief Li choked directly. I'm sorry, what I want to say is that you may not understand that we are the group headquarters, and the R/U0026D company is a R/U0026D company. I really don't understand the R/U0026D company. I have to inform another president about this matter, and the results this time most of them are made by overseas R/U0026D centers, and they may not be able to come, Wei Yandan explained. Look at it, it's all a problem, so you can shirk it? Is this how you solve the problem? They will come the day after tomorrow, and you are telling us this. Deputy District Chief Li stood up and was very angry. Wei Yandan looked embarrassed, knowing that this matter could not be solved immediately, so she had no choice but to say, it's lunchtime. Let's eat first and prepare lunch for you. We will discuss it in the afternoon. Deputy District Chief Li led a few people downstairs. Wei Yandan looked at the deputy leader of the reception team beside him and said, don't feel wronged. This matter is difficult. Mr. Wei, the plan we presented last night was shown to the R/U0026D company. The people there were sarcastic. When I showed it to them, they scolded me. I was scolded from both sides. According to Deputy District Director Li's idea, the R/U0026D company, it's impossible. The team leader felt like his head was about to explode. Wei Yandan stood there with a stern face. She knew that this was not something ordinary people could do. The docking work of several heads required someone who could control the field. According to the plan just mentioned, if she went to the R/U0026D company by herself, Liukan would probably not give it to her. Look good. Go to Mr. Liu after dinner. He can handle this matter. If you find him, tell him that the company will temporarily re-employ him. You must follow the procedures and ask him to connect with Deputy District Chief Li. Wei Yandan pointed out to him. Road. In the cafeteria of Huazan Factory District, Zhang Xiaoyan was sitting in a private room eating. Lu Feng was sitting next to him, holding a bowl and taking big mouthfuls of food. He said, you are not a bad cook. The cooks at our headquarters cook poorly. What are you doing here all morning? Zhang Xiaoyan put down the bowl and chopsticks and said, just busy with your business. I found that I have been free since I left the management. The villa has been tidied up. You can go back and live there. It's boring for me to stay alone. It's really not possible. I can be a consultant for you. By the way, I bought a mobile phone. Lu Feng took it out from his pocket and put it on the table and said, this thing costs 10,000 yuan. It's already very good. The signal is much stronger than that of my elder brother. I have one too. Your company is going to produce mobile phones. Then the price will be lowered. Zhang Xiaoyan chatted casually. It's for next year. If you don't want to live with me, I can take Duo over, Lu Feng suggested. The child will not follow you, Zhang Xiaoyan said lightly. You have to ask if you want to follow me. Is she on summer vacation today? Lu Feng asked. Zhang Xiaoyan nodded and said, I'll pick him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can pick him up at that time. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1077. Latest website. Lu Feng readily agreed. It happened to be that he had some free time, so he took the opportunity to rest. In the past few years, he owed Duo a lot and didn't spend much time with her. Now he would take a month to spend more time with her. Lu Feng could make a very accurate guess about the international reaction. Things in Europe could not be hidden. Coupled with the announcement of technological breakthroughs, the second half of the year would be the most difficult moment for Jiafeng internationally. He should stand out at this time. On the contrary, he needs to be quiet. It is best to be quiet, as if Jiafeng is not his company. If the sky falls, there will be a tall man holding it up. As long as he lies flat, there will be many people who have been taken advantage of and resisted. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, children filed out of the primary school gate, and the security guard stood nearby to maintain order. Even though they had not seen each other for a long time, the security guard still recognized Lu Feng, waved to Lu Feng, and said with a smile, "Mr. Lu, Duo is here." Lu Feng looked over there and saw Duo as expected. He walked over and said hello, "Thank you." "You're polite, as you should be," the security guard said with a smile. Lu Feng looked at Duo, took her school bag and asked, "Is it a holiday this time? Your mother is busy during the summer vacation, do you want to stay with your father?" The father and daughter were chatting, and the security guard stood aside and watched. A woman came over and asked, "Have you seen my child? Has class 3, grade 4, come out?" The uncle looked back at her and said angrily, "I am a security guard, not a nanny. You ask me, who should I ask?" "Huh? You old man," the woman muttered a few curse words and walked inside. Lu Feng took Duo into the car, took out his mobile phone and called Zhang Xiao Yan's office, telling her that Duo had decided to follow him, and they were going to go back to the villa to live. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng looked at the co-pilot Duo, reached out and touched her little head, and said lovingly, "Dad, I have been busy with work all year round. This summer vacation is the time to compensate you. If you have any requests, just ask." "I don't want to do my homework," Duo shouted immediately. Lu Feng, who originally looked like a loving father, stared at her when he heard this and said, "Don't be too presumptuous in front of me. I'm scared like a ghost in front of your mother. I'll take you to eat a hamburger." He started the car and sped towards KFC. At the entrance of the villa, the reception team leader had been waiting here all afternoon to see Lu Feng, but could not get in touch with him at all. After asking the security guard, he found out that he had gone out in the morning, so he had no choice but to continue waiting. Until the sunset, the scorching sun faded away, and the gentle breeze brushed his face, making every pore feel comfortable. Lu Feng's car braked and stopped at the door. Looking at the person dozing on the leisure chair at the door, Lu Feng got out of the car and looked at it. "Hey, wake up," Lu Feng pushed him and asked, "Which family do you belong to? Sit here." The man woke up, raised his head and saw that Lu Feng was about to cry. He stood up hurriedly and said, "Mr. Lu, I am from the planning department of our company. You may have never seen me. I am the second-level department of the group. My name is Sun Senlin. Now that the superiors are coming to inspect, a reception team has been set up, with me as the team leader. Isn't this great? Why are you looking for me?" Lu Feng stared at him with a bad feeling in his heart. "Mr. Wei asked me to find you. Here's what happened." "Okay, let's talk at home." Lu Feng opened the door and took out Duo's school bag. The little guy was still holding a bucket of oranges, drinking happily. Team leader Sun was also an honest man. He talked about everything after entering the house. Lu Feng nodded after listening, picked up the phone on the table and called Wei Yanden's office. The other end of the phone picked up and said, "Who is this?" "It's me, Lu Feng. Mr. Wei, what do you think of me? Even the donkeys in the production team don't dare to do this, right? Are you going to re-employ someone if you send someone here? Besides, how do you do your job?" Lu Feng said towards him. The phone scolded, "Can't you do this? The headquarters supports thousands of people, and they all live on dry food. Wei Yanden's face was filled with black lines as she listened to the curses on the phone, and she wanted to tear Sun Senlin alive. He didn't even know how to say a word, and he was asked to do this. Mr. Liu, I'm sorry. It's not like that. It was indeed a problem. He came to ask me, so I casually said to him, if you were here, would this be a problem? I didn't expect this silly boy to really. I ran to block your door. It's because I didn't do my job well. In fact, I also think it's best for you to take the lead on this matter. It can show that our company attaches great importance to this inspection. How can we show that we attach importance to it? I think no matter how grand it is, why don't you come forward? You are the founder, and you are very familiar with the inside of the company. You are responsible for the reception, and they also feel that they have a bright face. What do you think? Wei Yandan expressed her high emotional intelligence. What you said makes sense. Lu Feng couldn't refute this and said, but when it comes to internal talent issues, we must strictly control them. Don't let me take care of everything. We must bring up capable people. People who solve problems, not people who blame them. Yes, you must pay attention to it in your work in the future. I still ask you to serve as the leader of the reception team this time, Wei Yandan said sincerely. From what Lu Feng said just now, judging from what Sun Senlin said, these people couldn't suppress the municipal government. If they forced the pressure on the R/U0026D company, it would involve a lot of energy from the R/U0026D company to deal with this matter. Okay, the salary can't be less. I'll go over tomorrow and hang up. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hung up the phone and looked at Sun Senlin standing opposite. No matter how stupid he was at this moment, he knew that he had said the wrong thing. He stood there with his head lowered and motionless. Lu Feng could imagine that after he returned, he would be demoted or fired at worst. Although this person could not speak, he was at least honest and would tell the whole story. Sometimes honesty is the greatest virtue. Okay, don't stand still. I will be the team leader tomorrow and you can be the deputy team leader. If there are any problems that cannot be solved, report them to me in time and go back. Lu Feng signaled that he could leave. Sun Senlin nodded and left without saying a word. There were more children in the house, and it suddenly became lively. Duo was hanging out upstairs and downstairs. After a while, he restored his previous friendship with the children next door. The TV at home was turned on to play cartoons. Lu Feng also bought a Taiwan VCD, various discs from Hong Kong can be watched at will. For a while, Duo felt really happy and unhappy. Even a few children didn't want to go home. They stayed at Lu Feng's place watching The Gambler after 9 o'clock in the evening. In the building, Zhang Xiaoyan went home at 7 o'clock in the evening. Sitting at home alone, she always felt empty. In the past, she was annoyed with this little guy and wished she could be clean for a few days, but now she felt a little at a loss. Watching the clock on the wall ticking, Zhang Xiaoyan felt no sleepiness. After thinking about it, she suddenly wanted to call Zhang Fengxia and ask how she was doing. She just called her some time ago and told her her phone number. The night was extraordinarily peaceful. The storm hit at midnight, and Lu Feng and Duo slept extraordinarily sweetly. The next morning, after the rain, the sky cleared up, and the whole world was washed away and looked brand new. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, Duo was dressed and ready to run out to play, but Lu Feng called him back. As for me, if I have something to do, you can either stay in the factory with your mother and watch them produce washing powder, soap, lipstick, etc., or you can follow your father and me to my group headquarters to talk about international events. Lu Feng was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed and smoking a cigarette. Rather than giving the little guy two choices, he would rather pretend to compete with the little guy. Daddy and I. It's better to be your dad, otherwise how can I be your dad? Feeling her admiring gaze, Lu Feng stood up, changed his shoes and went out. When I arrived at the company at around 9 o'clock, Deputy District Chief Lee and others had already arrived. The argument was fierce in the conference room on the 6th floor. Time was tight and the reception plan had to be finalized today. In the conference room, Sun Senlin sat there with his head lowered, and Lyokan sat beside him without saying a word. The remaining 7 or 8 people were even more afraid to speak out, looking helplessly at the plan in their hands. Mr. Liu, if you have problems, you have to learn to overcome them. If you can't see the R/U0026D team, what are they doing here? If you really can't do it, find a few foreigners and let them stand behind, just to shake hands, Deputy District Chief Lee ordered with. No way. Lyokan waved his hands repeatedly and asked Sun Senlin next to him, Mr. Liu will take over the work of the reception team today, right? Sun Senlin nodded. No matter who comes, this is the plan. We must have an international mind. When we show it on the TV station, it must be beautiful and comprehensive. This time we also show what kind of city we are to people all over the world. Let's see. Deputy District Chief Lee knocked on the table. Lyokan didn't say another word and just waited for Lu Feng to come. Yesterday, Lu Feng's re-employment procedures were completed, and his name badge was also processed. As soon as he returned to the office, someone gave it to him. Duo walked in and looked around, curious about everything. The people around him were also particularly enthusiastic about this little girl. Of course, mainly because her father is the founder of the company. Which floor is the reception team's office area on? Lu Feng asked the clerk next to him. First call them over for a meeting, let's get to know each other. Mr. Liu, they are all in the small conference room number 3 on the 6th floor. Deputy District Mayor Lee is also there, as well as Mr. Liu from the R/U0026D company, the clerk replied. Then I'll go directly. Lu Feng glanced at Duo and said to her, don't run out of the building, I'm going to a meeting. I know, Duo replied simply. When the atmosphere in the conference room was about to solidify, Lu Feng opened the door and walked in. He glanced at the scene and asked Lyokan, have you eaten? Have eaten. Lyokan raised his head and replied. As he spoke, Lu Feng sat on the main seat and said to everyone, introduce yourself. Now I will take over the work of the reception team. Deputy District Chief Lee saw Lu Feng coming and said, the plan implemented by your company is already on the table. What's your name? Introduce yourself. Lu Feng stared at him and asked, then lit a cigarette. Deputy District Chief Lee was stunned when he heard this. Lu Feng spoke as if he was giving orders to his subordinates. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1078. Latest website. It was impossible for Deputy District Chief Lee to introduce himself to Lu Feng. As long as he opened his mouth, he would be at a disadvantage in terms of momentum. The man next to him obviously noticed the situation and said, Mr. Liu, right? I'll give it to you. Let me introduce, this is the Deputy District Chief of our Luohu District, surnamed Li. You're not from our company. Lu Feng smiled and said, hello, I just took over and am not very familiar with it. Didn't you say that the plan has been finalized? Let's just implement it. What's the problem? Sun Senlin said from the side, Mr. Liu, Deputy District Governor Li's plan is to arrange 2 days. On the morning of the first day, he will visit the group headquarters, bring out some powerful departments in the group, and give a simple speech, such as the market Mr. Zhu from the department, Mr. Du from the communications company, and Mr. Liu from the R/U0026D company. It ends at 11:30, and then there is the meal. It is arranged according to 10 hot and 10 cool. The whole food is delicious, and the wine is Mao Tai. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I will go to the R/U0026D company to meet with the main R/U0026D personnel and talk about the inadequacies in the R/U0026D process. Fear of difficulties, those touching deeds, by the way, explain the key points of technological breakthroughs. We will have dinner at 6 o'clock in the evening and arrange some local specialties or seafood. We will hold a symposium at 8 o'clock in the evening, mainly to talk about the development direction. GFN relies on modern Shenzhen to face global industry issues. The next day's itinerary is about factories and R/U0026D centers. In the morning, we will visit the newly established R/U0026D center in Shenzhen. In the afternoon we will visit the Dongguan factory, and in the evening we will have a farewell party. The smile on Lu Feng's face disappeared after hearing what he said. He took the folder from Sun Senlin and read it. What was written on it was much more complicated than this. What are the hospitality specifications? How to highlight local characteristics? You should mention the place more when chatting. To support GFN, a large number of people are required to accompany us in the 3 stages of the R/U0026D company, R/U0026D center, and factory. The route is very good and the itinerary is very full. However, the attendance of R/U0026D personnel is not acceptable. Our R/U0026D personnel are located at home and abroad. The main body of the R/U0026D company is still the office. If you want to meet the R/U0026D personnel, you have to go abroad. As for the appearance of foreign faces, etc., that's even more nonsense. Lu Feng looked at the folder in his hand and began to criticize, and said, the heads of each department will give speeches. This is not necessary. Mr. Zhu can't come back, and Du Guoying has a lot to do. I can just accompany you. We mainly focus on chips. Yes, we can show them some materials and design drawings, and just walk around the R/U0026D center and factory area twice. Besides, who pays for the food to be so good? Deputy District Chief Li's face turned ugly after hearing Lu Feng's approval of the plan. The man next to him replied, you will pay for the reception. Do we pay for it? Lu Feng looked at Sun Senlin and asked, which department's budget does these expenses count for? This is specially approved and will be counted as material loss, Sun Senlin replied. I really don't feel bad. Just make the reception meal cheaper. Save on other aspects if you can. Try not to disturb the normal operation of the company. Send more people from the municipal government, plus me, to accompany you for 2 days. As for these things are under the leadership of the city and the support of the district. Let's not say these things. I can't say them anyway. Lu Feng closed the folder and looked at Deputy District Chief Li and said, how about this plan? Liukan sat aside and said nothing. He knew that this was the case when Mr. Lu came. Mr. Lu, this plan was approved by the city. We are not here to discuss with you, but to implement it. Deputy District Chief Li was a little unhappy and spoke in a serious tone. What you are giving us is not called something. It cannot be implemented. Besides, we don't have to cooperate with you. Lu Feng spread his hands and said, if it doesn't work, just let these people go to the municipal cafeteria to eat. We can't do it. Come. Are you bargaining with me? Ah, Deputy District Chief Li slapped the table with his hand and scolded. What are you yelling at me for? Lu Feng also lost his temper. He stood up and pointed at him and yelled, what are you yelling at? Try yelling again. Deputy District Chief Li was dumbfounded. He had never seen anything like this before. As if he was going to hit himself, he suppressed his anger and said, this is a good thing for you. It just promotes the city. Then let's promote it. What are you doing with these things? Come here, have a meal, go shopping, and take a look. That's it? Why are you gathering these engineers together? I'll fly a plane to bring them here from abroad for you. Lu Feng threw the folder in his hand on the table and said, either follow my plan, or you can handle it yourself. Deputy District Chief Li stared at Lu Feng with a solemn face. The other party did not give him any face and said, Mr. Lu, you don't need to yell at me. No matter what, Jia Feng still has to stay in Luohu District. Are you alive? When everyone heard this, they all looked at Lu Feng. They just want to tease you. Once you say this, they will cause you trouble later, which will be very uncomfortable. Lu Feng looked at the deputy district chief and raised his eyebrows. Is it just you? It's just me, deputy district chief Li insisted. Then you are so powerful. We can't afford to offend you. We can afford to hide. You are not going anywhere. Shantu doesn't want people, Lu Feng said angrily. If you have this attitude, then you can't accept this reception. We don't welcome you. You have to do it even if you're not welcome. It's your decision. Just follow the instructions above. Deputy District Chief Li slapped the table and stood up. People will be here tomorrow. You can figure it out yourself. After saying that, he took the people away directly. Such a strong voice, that is, Lu Feng, if it were Sun Senlin, he would have been so scared that he peed his pants. What should we do? Sun Senlin asked at a loss. It's cold. Lu Feng took out a cigarette from his pocket and lit one, looking indifferent. Liukan was afraid that he would really give up, so he persuaded him, Mr. Lu, no matter what, the inspection team still has to be received. In the future, with the support of the national level, some research and development and exchanges will be easier to carry out. I know, let me call them inside. After speaking, Lu Feng said to Liukan, it's almost noon, let's go eat. Deputy District Chief Li cursed loudly on the road, and several people around him also complained. Along the way, they said that Lu Feng was arrogant and domineering, negotiating various conditions with the city, and that the district could not take advantage at all. We have to take advantage of this opportunity to rectify it. I have to deal with him under the pressure of the city this time. It won't be easy even if Deputy Mayor Lu comes. Deputy District Mayor Li was particularly tough. Jiafeng Group is headquartered in Luohu District, but regardless of taxation or other issues, they always discuss it with the city and directly skip the district. I feel unhappy for more than a day or two. In the restaurant, Duo was sitting there eating, looking in a good mood. Two beauties were sitting next to her, teasing her. She didn't know which department they were from. After dinner, Lu Feng returned to the office and called Deputy Mayor Lu. The other end picked up and said, who is it? It's me, Lu Feng. Deputy District Chief Li in that district came up with a reception plan. We really can't cooperate with it. If we follow the instructions in the district, then I can only do nothing. Let the city handle it, Lu Feng said straight to the point. It's just a reception, why can't we receive more? Vice Mayor Lu was puzzled when he heard this. Is this something worth calling him personally? Lu Feng briefly explained the situation on the phone, and Vice Mayor Li immediately said, this is a negotiation process. Don't be so emotional. I'll call and talk about it and discuss it carefully. When Lu Feng heard what he said, he was planning to make peace with him, so he said, people will come tomorrow. I still say that we will follow our plan. They came mainly to see if it is a real technological breakthrough. What about us? They are also private enterprises and they also need to produce normally. Okay, I understand. Vice Mayor Lu hung up the phone helplessly and called Deputy District Mayor Li. On the other end of the phone, Deputy District Mayor Li was also full of grievances, saying that Jiafeng was uncooperative. He also wanted to make the city proud and pushed the problem to Deputy Mayor Lu. People were arriving soon. Vice Mayor Lu knew Lu Feng well. If he couldn't decide today, he would not be able to receive him tomorrow, which would not be a good-looking scene. Vice Mayor Lu had no choice but to report the matter again. In Europe, Senior executives of many overseas branches of GFN Group have been controlled. Lu Feng was unable to contact him at all. He contacted Kevin, who was in charge of overseas business, through the company's management. Berg inquired about Lu Feng's situation in the name of the general manager of GFN branch, and got the headquarters phone number. He called at 2 o'clock in the afternoon domestic time and was transferred to Lu Feng's office. "Who is it?" Lu Feng picked up the phone and asked. "Mr. Lu, it's me, Berg from the London branch." The person on the phone spoke English. Lu Feng immediately became vigilant when he heard that it was this enemy, and said in English, "It's you, how is the company recently?" "The company is very good, everything is running normally, and our investment in various projects is relatively stable." "When will you return?" Berg finished speaking to the phone and glanced at the policeman standing beside him. "As long as the company is normal, since you are doing so well, the London branch will entrust you with full authority to take care of it. I have other things overseas recently and won't be able to go back in a short time," Lu Feng said into the phone. "But I'm calling your number at the China headquarters," Berg pointed out. "Of course I'm at the headquarters, otherwise how would I answer your call? I'm flying to the United States in a few days and have important cooperation talks with Goldman Sachs. If you have any questions in the future, please contact the Overseas Business Department directly," Lu Feng ordered. Berg could tell that he had no intention of coming back at all. He raised his head and glanced at the policeman beside him, who waved at him. "Mr. Lu, it's like this. Can you come back before going to the United States? Because there are still some problems with the company's procedures. You need to go to the industrial and commercial office to make changes. They need to do it yourself. There are tax issues. Otherwise, we will be censored when dealing with the headquarters economy in the future," Berg lied. "Okay, I understand. I'll contact you when we get there," Lu Feng said firmly. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1079. Latest website. Then when will you arrive? I will send someone to pick you up at that time. After you book the ticket, tell me the flight number, Berg asked on the phone. Okay, I understand, Lu Feng responded. Then when will you book your flight? Berg asked eagerly. When I book my flight, I'll let you know, Lu Feng continued to deal with it. I'm worried here. Can I come over in 3 to 5 days? Berg said without giving up. I'll try my best. There's something else going on here, so I'll hang up first, Lu Feng said and hung up the phone. Berg raised his head and looked at the police officers around him and said, You also heard that he will be here in a few days, maybe this week or next week. The police were not fools, and what they just said was obviously an excuse. They looked at each other and knew in their hearts that it was impossible for Lu Feng to come back now. They arrested Berg, and after communicating on the phone, several parties believed that he should be extradited, and calculated the amount of money GFN was involved in. Although the private agents don't know what happened, there are already rumors that GFN is in trouble. The agents who got the news early will immediately dispose of the products they have accumulated at half price. As for the slow ones, they can only destroy them. It's in my own hands. Several countries involved in the GFN branch began to sort out the amount of money involved in the GFN case. Due to time constraints, in order to show the seriousness of the case, they only made a rough estimate of the amount involved. The data submitted by the British police ranged from $5 billion to $80 between billions of dollars. When the amount was submitted for review, the leader felt that after reading it, he couldn't find out these things anyway, so he simply added some relatives, friends, or partner companies to make it easier to make false accounts. After they were done, he submitted it again, and the amount kept getting bigger. This loss that is difficult to calculate has become a fire pit for many people to throw rubbish into. When several countries combined the losses, they found a jaw-dropping figure. The amount involved was as high as more than $90 billion US. When several people in charge talked on the phone, they were a little speechless about this number, but things have come to this point. It was not him who did it, but it was him who did it. When they communicated on the phone, it was more than 90 billion anyway. When the time came to inform the Chinese side, they just made up the whole case, involving hundreds of billions of dollars. When domestic and foreign affairs channels first received the news, they were shocked on the spot. Either the other party was lying, or Lu Feng had looted a small European country. Lu Feng hung up the phone. The speed of inspections in Europe was obviously faster than he expected. It is estimated that this year will be the first time the matter becomes a commotion. In the city, a meeting about receiving the inspection team was going on. Deputy District Mayor Li and others were called over. There were more than a dozen people sitting in front of the conference table. The leader was Mayor Zhou, who was in his 50s and looked thin. A pair of big eyes are bright, with a cigarette between his fingers. I still hope that everyone can realize that this is an opportunity for international high-tech to see Shenzhen. This is not a time for you to take the opportunity to cause trouble, or to be an official to show your temper. Clearly distinguish the priorities. Deputy District Chief Li, what are you doing? What's going on? Mayor Zhou asked, taking a puff of cigarette. Mayor Zhou, we also wanted to receive the inspection team and give them a plan, but it turned out that they couldn't do this or that, so we still wanted to do it well. Deputy District Chief Li said aggrievedly, originally, this matter was we discussed it, but then Mr. Lu came, he is like the king of heaven. I don't want to hear you say this. I asked you to sit here not to listen to you say this. Now it is you who revolve around others, not others around you. Don't you understand this? I have also read that plan. How can we get engineers from abroad? Mayor Zhou scolded Deputy District Mayor Li, use your brain when doing things. No, it's difficult in our district too. GFN Company accounts for a large share of the district's economy, but it can't play a leading role. Money is needed everywhere in the district. I've told the city for so long, please be considerate. Inside the district, Deputy District Chief Li retorted. When there are difficulties, we have to overcome them. Everything has been arranged. What do we need you to do? They will come tomorrow, and now there is nothing arranged. Is this what you do? Are you being quarrelsome about asking you to go? Mayor Zhou was a little dissatisfied. He was so happy that he took a puff of a cigarette and said to everyone, the focus of work in the recent period has been on GFN. We must seize the window of opportunity to allow the chip industry to take root in the local area, attract the global semiconductor industry to look at us, and provide good reception work. That's the focus of this time. As for GFN, he can't fly. GFN is a phoenix egg. We need to use this egg to attract more phoenixes to build nests. We need to formulate guidelines for the development of the city's semiconductor industry and use this as a guide for investment promotion. Focus on key points and conduct key publicity to attract more supporting manufacturers to launch in the next few years. Deputy District Chief Lu was scolded and sat there silently. He knew without asking that he would still be scolded by the district chief when he returned to the district. After the meeting dispersed, Mayor Zhou called Lu Feng immediately. His words were full of apologies. He divided the reception issue into two and GFN arranged the inspection route. As for the entertainment and publicity, the municipal government will do it. Everyone performs their own duties, and the district is responsible for supporting them. Okay, you're lucky enough to come here and call me to tell me about this. We will definitely make arrangements. After saying this, Lu Feng felt that he should communicate with the regional director in advance to avoid any trouble that might happen to him later. Get arrested. By the way, there's another thing. I wasn't in Europe in the first half of the year. Something happened over there. There may have been some turmoil recently. I want to let you know in advance. Although Mayor Zhou has just arrived this year, He has already gotten to know Jiafeng as the largest private enterprise in the city. At the beginning of the year, when he first arrived, he inspected Jiafeng accompanied by Wei Yandan. For Lu Feng, in private, I've also heard of the famous name. Small thing? How small? Mayor Zhou asked cautiously. It's just a bit of a financial dispute. Don't worry, it won't affect the company. I'm no longer the company's management, Lu Feng wrote lightly. Okay, let's make the preparations for tomorrow. They are expected to arrive at 9 in the morning. We will pick them up at the airport together. The local TV stations and provincial TV stations will follow up and report, Mayor Zhou ordered. Don't worry, Lu Feng said politely. Putting down the phone, Lu Feng picked up the folder on the table, walked out of the office and saw Duo playing on the computer in the office next to him. He stuck his head in and ordered, "Notify the reception team for a meeting." A few minutes later, Sun Senlin and others gathered in the conference room. Lu Feng briefly changed the inspection process, and then asked Liukin to show them some finished products such as wafers at the R/U0026D company tomorrow, and briefly introduce the R/U0026D company. Concepts and technical structures, etc. Just find a few employees who don't have anything important to do and stand there pretending to be a number. It was evening, the sun was setting in the west, and the heat in the air had faded. Zhang Xiaoyan parked the car downstairs and looked at her own window upstairs. She felt a little resistant. She didn't want to go upstairs. She felt annoyed when Duo was there in the past. But now I am alone at home, and it is really lonely. Mr. Zhang is back. Why don't you go upstairs? Asked the aunt downstairs, choosing the dishes. It's a little hot upstairs, stay here for a while, Zhang Xiaoyan replied. Zhang Xiaoyan was hesitant and wanted to go find Lu Feng, but she was afraid that she would not be able to escape him at night. She thought about it and worried a lot. If she didn't study hard during the summer vacation, it would be wasted when school starts. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaoyan no longer hesitated, got in the car and drove straight to the villa. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng drove Duo to the door of his house. Looking at the co-pilot, Duo smiled and asked, "Are you happy today?" "Happy? Dad, I have to play computer games tomorrow," Duo shouted. "Are you interested in computers?" "Let's go play tomorrow," Lu Feng agreed generously. He pushed the car door open and saw someone standing at the door of his house. After squinting his eyes and looking carefully, he realized that Zhang Xiaoyan was standing there, her face not looking good. "Why are you here?" Lu Feng looked at her very surprised. "You just came back with your child at this point? What were you talking about playing?" Zhang Xiaoyan's voice was filled with dissatisfaction. When Duo heard her mother's voice, she was so frightened that she hurriedly shrank her head and did not dare to get out of the car. "Look at you, you know how to scare children. I took her to the company today. This little kid is interested in computers and can be trained in this area. It is much better than playing the piano. Don't stand outside. I will open the door for you." Lu Feng walked forward with a smile, and stretched out his hand to hug Zhang Xiaoyan's waist. Zhang Xiaoyan twisted her body and hid, asking, "What is a computer? What's the use of learning it? Come home and tell me, aren't you tired from standing?" Lu Feng opened the door, went to the car, took Duo out, and whispered, "Don't worry, Daddy will protect you." "You are still protecting me, and you are being bullied." Duo obviously didn't believe him. The family entered the house, turned on the light and sat down. Zhang Xiaoyan wanted Duo to continue practicing piano and enroll her in an intensive class during the summer vacation to make up for the basics. After hearing about the summer vacation plan, Duo huddled on the sofa and no longer dared to speak. His eyes peeked at Lu Feng, full of signals for help. The children are still young, so they should play when they have to. Reading too much can easily lead to nerds. Let's not talk about this. It's already around this time. It's past 10 o'clock to wash up. You live here, and we take turns taking care of the children. Lu Feng gave Zhang Xiaoyan a suggestion. Duo huddled next to Lu Feng, hid her little head behind his back, and asked in a low voice, "Dad, are you sure she won't hit me?" "Definitely not. I'm a man and she doesn't dare to be presumptuous," Lu Feng affirmed. "But I feel like my mother will beat me to death." "Don't worry, Dad will make her docile for you tonight." "I'll go play on the computer tomorrow and just do some research," Lu Feng affirmed. Latest website.